evening, everybody. Good evening, Zimbabweans, wherever you may be. I hope you've had a fantastic weekend and that you are now slowing things down, preparing for the beginning of the work week. And to those in Zimbabwe, I don't know. I hope you're all safe. And to Wilbert, welcome, Wilbert. Thank you once again for being here with me. I hope you've had a good weekend. He's going to try again. Our other panelist is going to try and come up. Over to you, Wilbert.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Sally. Good evening, Zimbabweans, wherever you are in the four corners of the world. Well, tonight we thought we could discuss something. Many of us, I think, had come to the belief that if Mugabe goes, things will change. The slogan, Mugabe must go, was the catchphrase for the last decade at least. And well, he is not immortal and he is dead. And now the question is, are we any closer to ending the ZANU-PF dictatorship and getting the democratic Zimbabwe that we all have been dying for, literally? I think it's a question that Zimbabweans, wherever we are, must now seriously answer. Do you want to start on it, Sally?
Well, first of all, I just want to just sidetrack a little bit. First of all, we have a WhatsApp group, okay, for the show that we used to have called Men's Corner. And in there's a mixture of people, okay, and only 2 women. Most of them are men. Anyway, we have our token ZANU-PF dude, okay. And you know, I suddenly, after sort of playing around with him today, I suddenly realized something. ZANU-PF still think that we are in the time of the donkey mailman. Okay, there's no internet, there's no cell phones, there's no cell phone videos, cell phone pictures, which could reach around the world within a couple of seconds. So they still into this, excuse my expression, bullshit baffles brains. When they're faced with reality, okay, they will talk a mile a minute about a million different things before people would doubt the reality of something, okay, because there was no real hard evidence, okay. So they were kind of winning in that section. But now there's the internet and there's cell phones and there's everything else that there is, okay, all the other gadgets and media and everything. So stuff travels around the world in a split second. But ZANU-PF hasn't got with it, and they still pump out the same donkey mailman rubbish, okay? And you know, there are days when I have been so frustrated. I've been ready to slap them out of their skins, okay? But I've got to the stage where with them now, you want to play a mind game, go ahead. But I ain't going down. I ain't doing it. Okay, so I mean, that's just a little bit of digression as to what ZANU-PF is like. What they pumped out 30, nearly 40 years ago, they're still pumping out today. And there's still people that fall for that rubbish. I don't know, but anyway. Right, as to Mugabe's gone, what's going to happen? Well, when the people started chanting Mugabe must go, I kept on telling them, no, ZANU-PF must go. Not only Mugabe. ZANU-PF is the problem. It's like the head of the chicken was Mugabe. Okay, ZANU-PF is the body. When you chop the head of the chicken off, okay, the chicken might die, whatever, but thousands and thousands of people, well, not thousands, but I mean, you can have a good feed off that chicken. So that chicken, in a way, still carries on living. Okay. So you can take Mugabe out, but ZANU-PF still carries on living. You've got to get rid of ZANU-PF, the whole of ZANU-PF. That's just for starters. So what happens now Mugabe's dead? I can honestly tell you nothing. I thought something might happen. I thought there'd be murmurs. Nothing. Maybe in 6 months' time, it might have changed. I don't know. But for now, nothing. One thing has changed, but that's Mnangagwa who changed it. Abductions seem to, like I predicted, and like I said to you, abductions have come back with a bang, okay? The only thing that's changed there is a few more abductees seem to live. Okay, they tortured bitterly and badly, but at least they're alive, where before you were abducted, you never came back. So that seems to have changed, because the narrative now is there's a third force. There's no third force. There never has been a third force. There's Mnangagwa and his shadow dancers. That's all. There's no third force. So what's going to change? Nothing. Nothing's going to change. It hasn't changed. 6 months' time, we'll talk about it again. We'll see. But right now, nothing's changed. I don't see any difference at all. The country limps on, ZANU-PF rages on, and the people limp along with the country. There we are. Nothing's changed for me. Anyway, over to you, Wilbert.
Thank you, Sally. Well, I have to agree with you there that nothing has changed. I think most Zimbabweans, the mistake we made was to believe that if Mugabe goes, the ZANU-PF dictatorship will collapse. That was the biggest mistake we ever made. And I think if you look back at 2017, when Mnangagwa and his friends staged the coup, they made most Zimbabweans fall into the trap of thinking that if Mugabe goes, the dictatorship will change. And they even sold that idea with their new dispensation, we've changed. Zimbabwe is different. Zimbabwe is open for business. And even now, Mnangagwa still maintains that the ZANU-PF of Mugabe's time and the ZANU-PF he is leading are two different creatures, when in reality they are the same creature, just under new management. Mnangagwa himself and the rest of the other guys around him, they were the same thugs that Mugabe was using, albeit that they've eliminated a few others who were too close to Mugabe for Mnangagwa's comfort. So they've been eliminated. But the truth is, nothing has changed. And I think in 2017, the nation had actually built some momentum to push for change. And if people had refused to be enticed by the coup plotters into believing that they will have their wish of a new dispensation, political dispensation, by removing Mugabe and joining the coup plotters in the ouster of Mugabe, we would have, the nation would have maintained the same momentum and said, well, the coup to remove Mugabe is an internal matter, nothing to do with us. And as far as we are concerned, we don't see it achieving anything that we have been fighting for, i.e. the democratic change. And so that would have put Mnangagwa and his friends still in the dock, still on the ropes, and saying we want meaningful change. And I think we should learn that lesson from our friends up in the north in Sudan. When the people were desperate for change, the army realized that the dictator was there, al-Bashir was not going to survive. So they stepped in and removed him, and then installed themselves as the new rulers and pretend that things had changed. And I think the people of Sudan were clever enough to say, no, we want a civilian government. We want meaningful change, not token change. The mistake we made in Zimbabwe in 2017 is to be fooled by Mnangagwa and his friends into believing that the coup was bringing in the democratic change that we wanted. It did not. And right now we are stuck with the same regime. I think what I find really interesting, well, or rather interesting in a disappointing kind of way, is that Mnangagwa promised in 2000, before the 2018 elections, that he was going to hold free, fair, and credible elections. And when the elections were held, everybody who is anybody said those elections were not free, fair, and credible. And Mnangagwa and his friends maintained that they were free, fair, and credible. And now, as if to entice the international community into believing that he's willing to change, he's saying, oh, you should help us with change. It's either you have changed and the 2018 elections were free, fair, and credible, or you accept that you promised that the elections would be free, fair, and credible, and they were not, and you accept that, and not have your cake and eat it, which is exactly what Mnangagwa is doing. When it suits him, he insists that the elections of 2018 were free, fair, and credible, and therefore then the sanctions should be lifted. Right now, he is in New York at the UN General Assembly, and when his turn comes to give his speech, there is no doubt that he will return to the same theme that Zimbabwe is facing some serious economic challenges because it's under sanctions, and those sanctions are uncalled for. They are necessary, and although when those sanctions were imposed, and particularly before the elections last year, it was explained to him that if he wanted the sanctions lifted, he must hold free, fair, and credible elections. And in this particular case, he himself insists that those elections were free, fair, and credible. And yet everybody else knows they were not. So he has got to clarify that point. If he's saying that the sanctions are illegal, is he also saying that the elections were free, fair, and credible? Because that is an insult to every Zimbabwean out there, particularly those of us in the diaspora, where there are 3 million of us, and we were denied the vote. And this time last year, when he went to the UN, he told the UN, the world, that, next time Zimbabweans in the diaspora will be able to vote. The question is, why were they denied the vote last year? Because this issue of the people in the diaspora must have the vote has been discussed to no end. So the short answer to the question that we have raised, are we any nearer? We are not any nearer getting a democratic Zimbabwe now that Mugabe is dead. Because all we have done is got rid of one dictator to inherit another. The system itself has not changed one bit. And I think that is the reality that Zimbabweans must now deal with and focus their minds on. Over to you, Sally.
You know, if you keep on talking about the diasporian being denied a vote. My 3 children are denied their citizenship of the country that they were born in. So according to Zimbabwe, they weren't born, or they were born in outer space, or I don't know. I have no freaking idea. In an ulterior world somewhere? I don't know. But I mean, they denied their birthright. Anybody that looked at that coup, which I cannot call a coup, it's an inter-party fight. I mean, that's all it is. Where the army was privatized to defend one part of ZANU-PF against another part of ZANU-PF. It wasn't a coup as a coup is. Okay, a coup doesn't get rid of a leader of a particular party and then support another leader of the same party and put him in power and protect it. No, coup is you get rid of the whole system. You get rid of, we have got GV3. Welcome, GV3. Just give me a minute and then the floor will be yours. Can you hear us?
Yes, I'm hearing you. I don't know if you're hearing.
Oh, yes, loud and clear. Anyway, I'll just finish off quickly and then it'll be over to you. I privately hope that the death of Mugabe will, in a way, free people from the cult, realizing that because there was a Mugabe cult, I hope it will free them in the sense that they'll look at ZANU-PF under different eyes. But that's just my private thoughts, okay? Nothing else. I have no expectations. I have no faith that it's going to do anything. It won't. Okay, GV3, over to you. What we're talking about tonight is Mugabe's dead. And now what happens?
Mugabe is dead now. We are in more trouble than ever before now. Because I don't understand these so-called ZANU-PF supporters. Like Mkoma Ubedo was saying on that soft coup or whatever coup they did, they wanted Mugabe to go. Yeah, they said he has messed up, just lying to the whole nation that were targeting criminals around him, and up to date there is no one criminal which has been apprehended for any other thing, any other dodgy dealings they were talking about. But to my surprise, the passing of the former president, everyone is saying Mugabe is right. He was a hero. So you come to understand, do these ZANU-PF supporters think properly? Or they're just selfish people? Because the moment this, because some I heard that some when they were at the funeral, some were even saying, why are you wearing Mnangagwa's t-shirt here? Why? And somewhere you say, why are you wearing Mugabe's? This is all Mugabe event. It's nothing to do with Mnangagwa. You see, so which means these with these kind of people, I can see the country is not going in nowhere, because as it is, we stand now. The former president wanted an apology from this called the La Costa group of people, because as it is, the G40 on its own, they are trying to start their own fire band. Because this ZANU-PF, they are still, these comrades, they are still divided, and each camp has got its own people. So as I see now, things are not going anywhere, and it's getting worse than when we used to have Mugabe. I know he wasn't a right man. He done so many things in a wrong. The policies were just not working, and everything was just going down. But this time now, they are more than what we can think, what we can imagine. If you start seeing a president trying to bribe supporters so that they can come for any rally or for any event he holds, then we are heading for a natural, a big disaster, not a natural one, a big disaster. So as I'm seeing now with this current new dispensation, we are worse off. Like Wilbert is always articulating that this is more like a tyrannic regime. It doesn't change. It's from bad to worse. When the people they say things are worse, that's how we are. The state of the nation, the address is nothing. He couldn't say nothing. Like you know, can you imagine that? You can't even imagine that this is a president talking to the nation, because he doesn't have nothing to say to the people. The country is just collapsing each and every single minute. Nothing from the day one when they took over the office is just changed. So I feel sorry for ourselves and our beloved people who are there, who are genuinely honest. They don't know where to turn to. The moment they try to do some things democratically, the force and violence is used against them. So in the end, I think it's gonna be like what you said always, Sal, it's a do or die situation. That's where I can see we're heading for now as we speak.
Thank you, GV3. You know, ever since I got into Zimbabwean politics, I mean, I got deep in, okay? Titch was my mentor. Titch and I, in the beginning, for the first couple of years, hit heads. Whoa. It was, you know, when you've got two bulls there in the rural area fighting for those rural cows, it was like that.
Yes.
The whole village could hear them go, kabak. That was Titch and me. But I always stuck to my guns. And I said, you get rid of Mugabe, you put Mnangagwa in, you are opening the gates of hell. And people laughed at me. Yes, you see, this is where I differ with you. Mugabe was bribing people and terrorizing people to get them to go to rallies, okay? They'd get a bag of rice and a bottle of cooking oil. And people didn't realize that when that bag of rice and that bottle of cooking oil was finished, there wouldn't be any more. Or if they did realize, they didn't care. I mean, you can go to the first rally, get your bag of rice and your bottle of cooking oil, and then a year later, okay, do the same thing. But you know that that bag of rice and bottle of cooking oil are only going to last so many days or weeks or whatever, okay? So Mugabe started? Well, Mugabe, with the help of Mnangagwa, started the terrorizing, the fear, the murdering, the raping, the violating, the abuse, and the corruption in Zimbabwe. If he hadn't had Mnangagwa, I believe strongly that it wouldn't have been as bad as it was. Okay. Now you take the shadow player, which is what I always called him, because he was never happy as a minister of anything. He was happy as the man that worked in the shadows. You take him and you put him as president. How can you expect anything to change? He was the instigator under Mugabe's orders of everything that has destroyed Zimbabwe and spilt the blood of thousands upon thousands of Zimbabwean people. And even I will take it as far as committing genocide against the Ndebele people. And you want to tell me that that man is now going to make the perfect president of Zimbabwe? Sorry, that don't work. So, Mugabe dying, and what now? You know what I say? Mugabe's dead. And so, because what happened? Oh, we're spending $1 million on a mausoleum for him. How much has it cost the people on all the years of his medical treatment in Singapore? I can promise you that not one single one of those trips was ever paid out of the Mugabe pockets. The country paid for it all, and then he still looted the country on top of it for each trip. Now, his body and everything had to be flown out. Who do you think is going to pay for that? The fools again. Because seriously, we are fools. You know, the first time somebody takes advantage of you, okay, that's a mistake. The second time, the third time, you're just a plain stupid fool. And ZANU-PF has made fools out of a whole nation. And they'll keep on doing it because the people allow them to do it. People have taught them that that is what they can do. They can get away with it. They're not held accountable. So therefore they do it. They didn't just wake up one morning and decide, right, we're going to ride roughshod over the people and do what we want. No. Change. We'll go back to the beginning. Do or die. That's the only way. Because even if a young ZANU-PF guy comes in there, okay, unless he's somebody that's been hiding somewhere, okay, they are all the same. They have all benefited. They only know how to survive on looting and corruption. So now you think that something new is going to come out of there? No, it's not. International community were interested once upon a time. They soon learned, like I did, that if you're going to stand against ZANU-PF, you're going to do it by yourself with your shadow and the spooks. Now the international community don't give a damn. They don't give a damn because the way they worded that, Wilbert keeps on saying they categorically, no, they never categorically stated those elections were rigged. They said there were problems here and problems there. They never came out and said straight, these elections were undemocratic. Okay, they were not free and they were not fair. No, they did not come out and say that because you know why? They don't care anymore. They know it's a waste of time. So change. It'll only come when Zimbabwean people themselves in Zimbabwe decide, right, this is enough. And they stand up en masse, not 500 or 1,000 people in Harare, okay, running around in the streets, shouting some slogan or other. No. No. Martin Luther King. Let's go back to Martin Luther King. He never fired a shot. He never went into battle. He had country-wide demos, some of them completely silent. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people marching on the street, not shouting slogans, maybe carrying placards. And he brought more change than MDC has brought in 30 years by running around the streets, shouting slogans, whatever. Sit-ins, silent demos. And Martin Luther King achieved a lifetime's work in the little time that he was there. And MDC have had a lifetime and achieved, excuse my expression, fuck all. So change. Mugabe dying. No. More money is going to be spent, but that's it. No change. Over to you, Wilbert.
Thank you, Saleh. I think we have agreed that nothing changed when Mugabe died, and nothing will change unless we do something about it. Whatever change we thought would come by his death alone has not changed. Has not come. If we are to be honest, I believe that ZANU-PF has been growing weaker and weaker over the last, 20 years, when the economy started to falter. The amount of wealth that was there and the greed of the ZANU-PF leadership itself was such that it was growing. It had been growing over the years, and the wealth was not enough to be distributed to all. And hence the reason why there's been so much in-house fighting within ZANU-PF. It's interesting, actually, how if we go back to the time of Mai Mujuru and her group being booted out, at the time when she was booted out, Mnangagwa, Jonathan Moyo, Grace Mugabe, they were all fighting in one corner. But no sooner Mai Mujuru was out, that the victorious faction divided like an amoeba. We now had the G40 and the Lacoste. And it's interesting that the Lacoste, when they did prevail over the G40 and staged the coup, within weeks, we heard that the Lacoste faction had also subdivided. There was now the Chiwenga faction within that Lacoste faction. So the divisions have happened in ZANU-PF because there's just not enough wealth to go all the way around. And I think ZANU-PF is a lot weaker now than it was 20 years ago. And so the opportunity for change is there. But I agree with Sally as well that that opportunity for change has never really been used properly and fully. MDC people risked their lives, life and limb, to vote Morgan Tsvangirai and his friends into power on the belief that they would bring about democratic change, as the name of the party implies. But I agree with Sally there. In 20 years of MDC's existence, no one in MDC can stand up and say, yes, we did bring up to name even one democratic change they brought up. They had many golden opportunities to do so, the best of which was during the GNU. I know some people don't agree that they could have brought in democratic changes then. But if you look at what the global political agreement was about, it definitely did have Robert Mugabe and his ZANU-PF. They signed on to the dotted line of that global political agreement that there were going to be meaningful democratic change. And if you follow the 5 years, you will have to accept that not even one democratic change was ever implemented. And it wasn't because ZANU-PF stopped them. In fact, that was the one thing ZANU-PF boasted about in 2013. They held a press conference where they called in members of the diplomatic corps, the press, and the then Minister of Justice and Parliamentary Affairs, Patrick Chinamasa, addressed the group and told them that in the 5 years, MDC had not proposed even one single reform in Parliament. And he was the Minister of Justice and Parliamentary Affairs. And if anyone can dispute that, then they should produce one single proposal that ZANU-PF stopped from being implemented. So the truth of the matter here is that if we're going to have change, we will have to look for parties and politicians who are committed to implementing the democratic reforms. MDC had the golden opportunity to implement the reforms. They failed to do so during the GNU. And ever since, they've paid lip service to democratic reforms. MDC is quite content with the present status quo, where ZANU-PF wins the majority of the seats, and they win the token seats, which is great for them because it allows them to have people like Tendai Biti in Parliament and a few people like David Coulthard in the Senate. And as for Chamisa himself, 2 weeks ago, MDC was paid $3.4 million as part of the Political Party Finance Act payment. And according to MDC's agreement, the party leader gets 20% of that. So Chamisa's bank account was richer to the tune of $680,000. And that is the reason why MDC will never boycott elections. They are after those tokens, gravy train seats, and they are after the share of the Political Party Finance Act payment. That is the status quo we have right now. And as long as they keep on participating in these elections, which ZANU-PF definitely rigged, one cannot deny that their participation gives the process some democratic credibility. And that is what ZANU-PF is, why ZANU-PF is offering those token seats and also the part payment from the political party. They need that for their own credibility, because they don't, ZANU-PF, the last thing they want is to find themselves in the situation they were in 2008. So if we are going to have any meaningful change in Zimbabwe, we will have to tackle that present system and dismantle it, because it's not working. It's a political equilibrium that was reached at the end of the 2008 to 2013 global political agreement. And at the present moment, it suits both ZANU-PF and MDC. MDC would want to make all manner of noises about they're going to change things. They are not changing anything. MDC is contained with the present political system. So if we are serious about change, that is what we have got to go for. We have got to accept that MDC, ever since the GNU, has been running with the hare and hunting with the hounds. That is the political reality that Zimbabweans must accept and work from if we are going to change the system. Over to you, GV3.
GV3, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm available. Yes.
Right, off you go, darling. Let's have it.
So, Mkoma, but now, like you are saying, so what else can we do now to have those changes? Because you are saying these political parties, nothing they can do for us. MDC, they cannot do nothing for us. They cannot change anything for us. So we are like in a dilemma of a box, because as I see Zimbabweans ourselves, we are all cowards as we speak. Because if we had agreed as a nation here to take hold of the country as citizens here, by now we could be speaking something. But the problem that some of the people, when you agree with them, let's take this step forward, you have 9 people out of 10 stepping backwards, 3-4 steps backwards. So they all like to mourn behind the scenes, but when we confront the things which are reality to us, they don't want to act. So I don't know whether they want the country to go forward, or they want the country to just collapse and be another maybe second Baghdad or something like Iraq. I don't know. Because as it is now, like you say, the political party, they don't look they're gonna give any hope to the ordinary citizens. So the ordinary citizens, they need to come together and forget about this party issue, party business, and stop insulting people, stop saying self-blame. Some they are still blaming sanctions. What has sanctions to do with thieving of money of certain criteria of now? The one of the big fish, they say they've frozen his account in Zimbabwe, and things are just going down economically. So I don't know whether it's just a disguise to just make people keep quiet a little bit. Or how can people survive in a country for more than 10 years without water and electricity, and they say things are normal in the country? Things, they can't be normal. Citizens, they need to come together, because at the end of the day, they are being charged service rates for those things which they are not getting. So why are they allowing such government to come and intervene and take money for nothing? It's high time people, they need to come together now and realize, no, we cannot depend on this political party. They failed the country. People, they need to come together and think twice before the sunset. Otherwise, we are heading for a big disaster here if people, they don't realize that we can't depend on these politicians anymore. We have to depend on ourselves and come and realize, no, these things it's not to do with the party, it's not to do with it's to do with ordinary citizens who are suffering right now. We don't have who are sleeping today without food, who are not taking their kids to school, but they are still forced to vote for a certain particular party. They are being harassed all the time, evening, and that if you don't vote for this party, things are not going to change. They've never been changed since 1980. So why are you scared now to stand up for ourselves? Because things they've never changed since 1980, since we got independent. It was only just intimidated and after intimidation. Where is your card? Where is your political party card? If you don't have that one, you don't get maize. You don't get. How are we gonna live like that and allow these people who are saying they are in power not listening to the people who voted for them? So the only option now is for the people, if they can realize they need to come together and start doing one thing at a time, not just to say because you are an MDC, I don't like you, you are a ZANU, you are an independent. No, forget about this, who you are. Forget about political party now and try to make sense out of each other and say, no, let's do it ourselves now. These leaders, they failed us. That's why I can encourage most people. People in diaspora, they don't want to keep on staying forever in diaspora. You see, some people they've been kicked out of the country unlawful. You see, we need to teach each other that every Zimbabwean who was born there is a Zimbabwean, no matter what color or what. You don't have to be taught another idea or another ideology from someone else. The only thing we have to come together as citizens and do our own ideology. That if we keep our mouth shut, we will die here and we will keep on suffering. With these leaders, they've failed us. This government has failed us. These policies, they've failed every citizen until now. Kids, they don't go to school anymore. They just stay in the streets. What kind of a country is that? And people, they are saying things are normal. I think the citizen, they have to realize that enough is enough. We cannot keep on going this way. If within 2-3 weeks, if we are not careful, food stuff, they're gonna disappear from the shelf from the way things are going now. So do you like a citizen to go in and you don't see nothing, no bread, no flour, no basic commodities, and you say the government is in control, is doing everything according to whatever they say, they promise everything is gonna be okay? There's no okay now. We have to okay ourselves. If we don't okay ourselves, we will be like pity. We like us will be like in hell, burning on the earth. So people, they need to realize and come together and forget about that, who you are, and start to mobilize each other. That these things needs ourselves, not the party, not the politicians anymore. They failed. They can't do nothing to the ordinary people. The ordinary people, they have to do their own movement together. Forget about say we need to organize this Jamukata what hashtag this flag. Forget about this is hashtag everyone needs to come in on board for this thing to happen, for change to come. Because change will never come from anyone else until we realize we can change it ourselves as citizens. There might be bloodshed, yes. There might be anything. Things they will never come on a silver plate if we want to change ourselves. People, they realize that time is the high time we do it now, the better for our kids who are gonna come behind us. Yes, Sally.
Thank you, GV3. That was absolutely brilliant, and I couldn't agree with you more. You know, you just made me remember Gloria flour. We used to make our own flour in Zimbabwe. We had a mill. We had flour mills all over the country, and Gloria was one of the top ones. Okay. We had our own cotton mills. We used to produce our own cotton fabric. We used to produce our own sheets,
Yes.
duvet covers, towels, dressing gowns, nappies. Yeah, all my children were raised on David Whitehead nappies, cotton nappies, all of them, all three of them. Okay. We used to produce our own crochet cotton. Now they're proud because tobacco, there's so many tobacco farmers. Tell me something. I did not know that you could actually eat tobacco.
Eating tobacco leaves.
Well, it seems to be because the ZANU-PF is forever saying, yeah, but look, we've got so many tobacco farmers and all this, when people are going hungry. So why are you proud of growing tobacco if you can't grow millies and wheat and soya beans and barley and all the other stuff we used to grow. But you're pumping out, we grow tobaccos. We grow tobacco. You know, seriously, you know, I used to, it sounds really bad. I used to have a lot of faith in the people in Zimbabwe that they would sort it out. But after the inter-party fight, or during the inter-party fight, especially afterwards, I lost all faith. I lost all faith. The biggest mistake Zimbabweans have made, the biggest, is accountability. They have risked their lives. Some of them have given their lives to voting for people, whatever party, NDC, ZANU-PF, whatever, okay? Whatever MPs, okay, that they vote for in the rural areas, in the urban areas, whoever. People have sacrificed everything, including their lives. But the vote doesn't count because there's no power behind. Stand up and hold the person that you have voted for accountable. The vote doesn't count. It's got no power. So those veterans, and I'll say it again, I said it last week and I'll say it again this week and I'll say it again until they put me under the ground. And then my spirit will say it. Every single freedom fighter that gave their life or gave up family life and education and everything else to go to the bush and fight a war to enable the people to vote. Each time you cast your vote, you spit in the eye of the freedom fighter that died for it. Because your vote has no power. No power at all, because you don't hold the person you're voting into power accountable. You think, I vote now, hey, Chaya the Chabuku stands. No, don't work like that. And you know it doesn't. But you want to avoid any problems. So you sell your soul to the ZANU-PF devil. And believe me, Satan, when he hears ZANU-PF, he runs in the opposite direction, because evil, he never thought, could ever be manifested on earth the way that ZANU-PF has manifested evil against a nation. And they still do it today. And the people allow it today. You've got to hold the person that is there to, he's a public servant, servant being the main word. He's there to serve you and your needs and to make your life better and to protect you and your needs. Now make him do that. Make your vote honorable and powerful, because there are people on whose shoulders you stand on today. You youth in Zimbabwe, wake the hell up. You carry the nation on your shoulders and you couldn't be bothered to respect the people on whose shoulders you are standing on. No, you want to run after some supposed pastor who's now the leader of MDC, little cult leader, okay? You want to insult me, and I don't know how many others have told you, be careful, that man is no good. And threaten us and all sorts of things. The youth of Zimbabwe, you're a failure. Every single one of you. You're good at mouthing it. But when it comes to action, you stamp on the grave of the freedom fighter that gave you the right to be where you are and who you are and to vote in a free country. Those are the shoulders you stand on. And you won't listen to anybody that isn't a youth. People look to you to carry on the fight. And what have you done? You jumped on the bloody gravy train and you have dissed and disrespected all of them. Tsajamuka or whatever it is, this flag or whatever it is. You're always looking for some leader with smart words and flashes to follow. Why? Why? Are you that insipid? Are you that much of a coward that you've got to be behind somebody? And you'll take anybody with big words and flashy slogans and flashy cars, and the more pomp and ceremony that goes behind the person, the more you follow them. You don't listen to what comes out their mouth. The listening stops after you've listened to the slogan. Chisa, chisa. What the hell kind of slogan is that? And yet you're all running around shouting, chisa, chisa. Are you that cowardly? Are you that easily intimidated by stupid people? Come on. The youth of Zimbabwe gave you the freedoms that you enjoy today and the education that you enjoyed and the right to vote. That's the youth of Zimbabwe that did that for you. And now what do? You take us down the merry sewerage trail, and nobody is held accountable for it. The roots that you came from in the rural area, you have allowed ZANU-PF to intimidate, abuse, violate, murder, rape, abduct, whatever. You have allowed ZANU-PF to own the rural areas, and that's your roots. That's where it all came from. I hold the youth of Zimbabwe responsible for what's happening now. They were the ones that were shouting the loudest, give Edie a chance, give Edie a chance. And when us elderly people that had been through some part of all the stuff that makes Zimbabwe today what it is, when we spoke up, what did they do to us? Shut up, you old people, you don't know what you're talking about. Go back to your grandchildren and knitting. So where did your give Edie a chance get us? Has it taken us in a better path? No, it hasn't. Because none of you have got the guts that the freedom fighter youth had. None of you. You're all there following like sheep. Oh, we'll have a demonstration. Our demonstration upsets ZANU-PF. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Because you know what it does? It allows them to open the doors of abduction and shooting and everything else. That's what it does. It doesn't stop them doing anything that they want to do. 500, 1,000 people, what's that? That's nothing. You get a couple of cops, a couple of army guys, a few CIOs, some green bombers, some other riffraff that ZANU-PF chooses, okay? Shoot and beat and everything else. And then for 2 months, you abduct people. Now it's doctors. So what did you stop ZANU-PF doing? I'm sorry I'm taking up so much time, but this upsets me to the core. You youth, you got us into this mess with ZANU-PF again, shouting, give it a chance, give it a chance, give it a chance, new dispensation. Yeah, new dispensation, look where we are today. No electricity for 18 hours. That's the new change. Youth, it's on your shoulders. Let's see, excuse my language, if you've got the balls enough that the freedom fighters had. Make your vote count. Give it the power that the freedom fighters that gave it died for. Give it back, that power. Okay, I'll shut up. I'm terribly sorry. Wilbert.
Thank you, Sally. Just wanted to follow up on what you were saying there, GV3. I think one of the most important issue here is to realize when something is not working. I think since the late 1990s, when MDC was formed, people did believe that MDC was going to bring about the democratic change that the nation needed to move forward. And I think it is high time that people realize that those democratic changes are not going to happen. MDC has been, they've just celebrated a week ago their 20th anniversary. And in those 20 years, they've not brought up even one single democratic reform. And I think it's hard a reality for most Zimbabweans to accept, particularly when you still have ZANU-PF to fight. You honestly want to think that, well, let's fight one enemy at a time. We are fighting ZANU-PF, and let's focus our minds on that. And we have got MDC as the champion to fight the fight for us, the good fight for us. And after 20 years, I think it is sensible and logical to ask, what has MDC achieved in those 20 years? And if the answer is, and it is, that they have achieved nothing, I think it is about time people accept that reality and look for other changes. Like what GV3 was trying to emphasize there, that we have got to look for change within ourselves and not always be looking for, we need a political party or political leader to lead us, particularly when those who have put forward have failed to do so. The change, the democratic change that we want is not going to happen in the present setup. And that point I will emphasize again and again. ZANU-PF is not going to implement any democratic reforms. MDC is not going to implement any democratic reforms because they also accept that ZANU-PF is the dominant party, and they have accepted their role as the subordinate main opposition party, content with the few seats that they can get, and a share of the Political Party Finance Act cash handout that they get every year. So if we want democratic change, and we desperately need it now more than ever, because the economy is not going to revive as long as we have got a pariah state. And Zimbabwe right now is a pariah state. The same pariah state that Mugabe was ruling. Mnangagwa tried to deceive everyone by pretending that he had changed it. In reality, all the claims that he was making, that the ZANU-PF that he was leading was a new dispensation, was just words, absolute words that had absolutely no meaning whatsoever. In fact, when they planned their coup, they announced that the purpose of the coup was Operation Restore Legacy. They never said to the people what that legacy was. And the truth of the matter is, the legacy that they were talking about is that ZANU-PF, they themselves, as part of the Joint Operations Command, restored power to Joint Operations Command. That is restoring the legacy. Ever since the formation of this unconstitutional body called the Joint Operations Command, that has always been the real power in Zimbabwe. Parliament had no power. Mugabe himself had the power as the head of the Joint Operations Command. And the office of the president was just a cover. Real power in Zimbabwe has lied with the Joint Operations Command. I think it was Tendai Biti in 2012 who admitted that in Zimbabwe we have got two parallel governments. The formal one with parliament and the president, the judiciary and the police, etc., etc. And then the more shadowy one, headed by the Joint Operations Command, whose membership were the senior members of the police, the army, the CIO, the prison service, plus select members of ZANU-PF, headed by Mugabe himself and assisted by Mnangagwa. That was the body that made all the decision. Parliament was then told to implement it. Ministers would then be told to implement those decisions. Tendai Biti was even talking of this Joint Operations Command had its own source of funds. And he was right. That is when the looting in Marange was in full swing. Even to today, we don't know who is operating in Marange. Mnangagwa talked of there will be zero tolerance on corruption, but even he was soon to admit that corruption was more deep-rooted than he thought. We all know who the corrupt people are. Look at their mansions. Look at Vice President Chwenga with his C&M mansion. Mnangagwa is his mansion well hidden. His businesses have got somebody else on as an affront. But he is reckoned to be one of the richest men in Zimbabwe. Mugabe himself. Some of us had another good look at his mansion at this funeral. Impressive, truly impressive. 25 bedrooms, each one with its own ensuite and an extra large double bed. The interior of it is unbelievable. Somebody had the aptitude to send a parallel photograph of Mugabe's mansion and next to it a rural mud hut, grass-thatched mud hut, where many of the voters in this day and age still live. And they are the ones who funded Mugabe so that he's able to buy that mansion, the blue roof. And it is not the only one. This is the reality we have in Zimbabwe. If we are going to change the system, we've got to realize that Mnangagwa and the ZANU-PF dictatorship, they are absolutely determined to stay in power. And they are not going to give up power easily. And now they've got themselves a good partner who gives them the cover that Zimbabwe is a democracy. It holds free and fair elections. Just this weekend, they had the by-elections in Zaka East. ZANU-PF, of course, won with a landslide. Zaka East, for some of the people who don't know, it's in Masvingo. It's one of the dry places in Zimbabwe. Even in a good year with good rains, most people in that area in Mashingo, just the same as Matabele and South and North and parts of the Midlands, they are so arid that they hardly ever produce enough to eat. And so therefore then they are dependent on food aid. And that is the one tool that ZANU-PF has used very effectively to keep themselves in power. Why MDC keeps participating in those elections in the rural areas when they know ZANU-PF is using food as a weapon? It's because MDC still wants to win the share of the Political Party Finance Act. To win it, they've got to have a minimum of 5% of the, in a general election, win 5% of the total votes cast. And so therefore then them keeping a presence in the rural area is important for them to contribute towards that, hitting that 5% threshold. In the urban centers, they know ZANU-PF will let them win a few of the seats in the urban centers, which is their mainstay. But they still need the rural areas to top up their over 5% of the national vote. So we are stuck in this situation now where that situation is not going to move. And we need, I think as the first priority is to realize that MDC is no longer interested in implementing reforms so that there are free, fair, and credible elections and we can get out of this mess. The economy is not going to recover as long as Zimbabwe is a pariah state. That is a fact. And Mnangagwa is trying to pretend that he can change it without changing the fundamentals that Zimbabwe is a dictatorship. That is not going to change. Nobody was ever fooled by his Zimbabwe is open for business. Even when he launched it in 2017 after the coup, everybody with any brain could see that was nonsense. How can you say Zimbabwe is now open for business? What have you changed on the ground other than removing Mugabe? Do you seriously think removing Mugabe is enough to end the fact that Zimbabwe is a pariah state ruled by corrupt, incompetent, vote rigging, and murderous thugs? You know, removing Mugabe alone is not enough. All those things must be done as well. And he never touched any of those things. So I think that is where we need to concentrate. Until we accept that MDC is no longer fighting in our corner, and we need to think of something, either accept that reality and fight in the corner ourselves. I honestly think that we will be forever chasing our own tail. Sending MDC thinking, because MDC, it is part of their way of staying in power. They've got to remain relevant. They've got to pretend they're changing things. They've got to pretend during the elections they're going to win those elections. Last elections, MDC, for instance, typically, Chamisa, in fact, insisted that...
Can I just interject? Can you kind of bring it to an end, please?
Sorry, yeah, okay. MDC, Chamisa was insisting that MDC has got stringent measures to stop ZANU-PF rigging the elections. And when you ask them what are those stringent measures, he never said. And we all know, of course, that he didn't have any, because come the elections, ZANU-PF was able to rig them without any problems. And MDC endorsed those results because they got their share of the few seats. So I think that point, to come back to GV3, that point has got to be made. People must realize that we can no longer depend on the ZANU-PF to change or MDC to change the reforms. We have got to accept that those two parties are now working in cahoots, and we need to think of getting those reforms implemented ourselves. Sorry about that, Sally. Over to you.
Yeah, okay, super. GV3, are you still there? Okay.
Yes.
I think we'd better sort of bring it all to an end. So if you can give the closing argument or
Yeah,
closing whatever.
I'm just agreeing with everybody here. We have seen enough for people to come together now. What more else do we want to do? To keep on looking? Zimbabweans, they were clever people. Let's not be coward. Let's not be coward. Let's forget about this ZANU-PF wish-wash and MDC like Wilbert is saying. Let's not be coward here. Our own mothers are dying. They can't even get their own pension. They've been told there's nothing. But these women and men, they've worked 40, 50 years hard working for this country. But they've been told after retiring there's nothing for them. Why can we look like that with our own eyes, surely smiling that our own grandmother and granddads, they're not getting their own share of what they've contributed for this nation? We shouldn't be cowards. We should come together and stop this nonsense to an end. That's the only way now to take over this country. If we keep on relying on these politicians, we are fooling ourselves for good. We will not achieve anything at all. We should now realize no more coward. Why are we coward in the first place? We've been brought up in a nice way that your neighbor is your own cousin, is your own friend. You can help him if he's in need. Why can't you help our own country, which is in need, which is collapsing? Left, right, and center. We need to help ourselves now. This country is collapsing. It's going on down on its knees. There's no two ways about it. These people, they cannot not even do one single thing for this country. If we don't do that, our own kids, our own grandkids will never see any goodness in this country. They will ever live to regret that I had a granddad or I had a father who never fought for me. Well, at least they come and try to fight for themselves. We should come together and stand up for our rights and say, no, enough is enough. We need this country to move forward. But you guys, as leaders, you know, you have failed to move this country forward. Let the ordinary citizens take the control, take charge. Hashtag citizen, they need to come together. Thank you, Sally.
Thank you very much, GV3. That was lovely. That was very powerful. And it's so nice to hear from you, because on the show, okay, on the radio, you have to sort of kind of keep quiet. So this is your little corner to vent. How's that for a deal?
Yes, that's perfect, man. Especially with Wilbert, you know, airing from the other corner. You can speak for hours, you know.
I know. I've got to watch with Wilbert, okay, and with myself.
Yes.
All right, but I was being kind to him tonight. Okay. Wilbert?
I'm here. I can hear you.
Right. 30 seconds.
Well, all I can say is thanks very much again, Sally. Thanks, GV3, for the chat. And I hope with some of the people who will have the chance to listen to it will have their own ideas. And Sally there will give you a link on where you can send your comments. And maybe, you know, in future we could start with all. Sally can see if the comments coming in, can give the you, the listener, the opportunity to have your comments added on, or the discussion, or suggest even a topic we should discuss, and so forth. Over to you, Sally.
Yeah, right. Comments. All you have to do when the live is on, okay? I post the YouTube URL, and you can comment on the live chat. Or afterwards, you can comment under the comment section in the YouTube video, or you can email me at misty50@gmail.com. I thank you so very, very much for each of you guys that have given up your time, okay, and have spoken very passionately and very eloquently. I thank you so very much. And each of you can share. I've posted in the men's corner on the WhatsApp group the YouTube link, and you can share it amongst your friends. You can share it YouTube. You can share it. I mean, on WhatsApp, you can share it anywhere. Okay.
Yes.
Hopefully, we'll end up with some more panelists at some time. So, thank you very, very much to Wilbert and to GV3, and thank you Zimbabweans that have listened, and thank you to Donna. And there was another lady here, but doesn't have a name. It's just a dash. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much for listening in and for commenting. And Zimbabweans, wherever you are, I hope you hear this, and I hope you listen, and I hope you think about it. And remember this: we were never raised to only think of ourselves. We were raised to help each other. And that's something that we've forgotten. It's passed by the wayside. So let's bring that back into our circles again. Thank you very much. May your gods go with you. God bless. See you next week, same time, same place.
Thank you,
Good night.
everyone. Bye.
Thank you, Saleh. Thanks, GV.
Hang on, I'm just ending the broadcast.